So I just finished a track, and I think there's some quite interesting tips and tricks in production that I can show you guys from it. They're kind of not genre specific, but they are interesting, which is why I'm going to call this segment Interesting and Creative Production Techniques, or IACPTA for short. So first I'm going to play you a little section of the song just so you have an idea of where these techniques fit into the overall theme of things, and then I'm going to break them down for you. So here's a segment of the song. So, technique number one is replace your risers with soundscapes. For those of you who don't know what a riser is, it's like a generic sort of noise which provides like the lift up before a drop. So quite a lot of people will just use samples for their risers. I do the same a lot of the time. Here's what one of those sounds like. They're not pitch specific and they're not genre specific sort of thing. You can drop them in any song and then just give that feeling before the drop of it's getting bigger, it's coming sort of thing. So for this track I had a really specific idea of what imagery I wanted to create, and as a result I thought it'd be cooler to replace those risers with soundscapes to really create that imagery. I chose the noise of a crowd talking for mine, which sounds like this by itself. And all I did to give it that sense of growing is first apply a delay, so that turns it into this. Then in order to get it pulsing with the song, I added a plugin called Kickstart. For those of you who know or care what sidechain is, it's like a really quick automated version of sidechain. But for those of you who don't, it makes it bounce in time with the music. And that turns it into this. If I make it more extreme, you can really hear it. And then finally I just automated the volume into the drop. So that can be a really good way of giving this feeling of like it getting bigger and all around you, but it being a really cinematic like imagery thing, because it almost feels like you're sinking into a crowd, like the crowd's getting louder around you and then the music comes pulsing out of that. Now you could use like a variety of soundscapes. In this song I've used waves as well, especially at the start. They sound like this. And you might be able to hear that pulsing again. I put Kickstart on this to make everything bounce. Okay, so tip number two is about drums. Now in this song it's very repetitive, the drum beat, and in order to keep it growing throughout, what I've done is layer a second drum kit on after the first one. So for the first half of the song I've got the original drum kit, and then I have this disco sample and layered that on top of it. So it sounds like this. And I think you'll agree it really doesn't fit with the song that well, but layered in with the other drums it makes the drums punch a little more and feel like they're growing. I'll play you just the drums solo by themselves and you can hear what I mean. Just another quick tip about that. When you put in that extra drum kit, don't leave the low end in. So you'll see that if I pull up the EQ, you can see that I've cut out all of the low end here. So all you're left with is sort of the transient, the higher end thumps. So it adds that sort of click and that attack to the drums, but it doesn't actually affect my mix at all on the low end. So you'll still feel exactly the same thing in your chest, but you'll still feel like, oh yeah, this is growing. Tip number three is to introduce the sounds early. Now this is like a really broad, obvious tip, I think, if you've written any songs before. So I have an ARP in this song, which is just playing the chords, automated, and it's one of my favourite synths, the Tyrrell N6, which is free. You can download it pretty much no matter what you're using as your software. It's got a really nice high-end oscillator, like a white noise oscillator. So all I've done is arpeggiate that synth to play the chords, like this. And then increase the cutoff so that white noise really comes through and gives a fuller noise. I have it coming in early in the track there, which sort of introduces the idea and gives the first drop some interest. So it's only when it gets to the second drop that that idea really punches through to the forefront. And because you've heard it before and it's familiar, it almost feels like it makes sense for that to happen. It's a good way of providing like a cohesion throughout the song. So then when you get to the later point, you hear. And somewhere in the back of your head, like, oh yeah, I recognise that. I think it provides more of a storyline for the entire track. Anyway, those are my 3 quick tips from this song. I hope you found it useful. I'm going to play the full track now at the end of this video, and there'll be a link to it. Go and listen to it on SoundCloud as well. Like I said yesterday, if it gets like 10 comments, I'll upload it to Spotify as well, just because I don't know that it's worth doing because people like it. So thank you so much for watching, and I really hope you enjoy the full track.